Hey everybody, welcome to this channel and welcome to this video. My name is Courtney if you guys are new here, and today I am going to be making a video all about Hagwons and how you can get a job at one. So quick 30-second backstory. Like I said, hi, my name is Courtney if we have never met before. I was a previous EPIK teacher, meaning that I taught in the public school system in Jeonju in South Korea for a year. Last year, I went back to the States for a couple of months, and then I came back for a Hagwon position about 4 months ago. So today I'm going to be talking about how you guys can apply and get a Hagwon position. If you guys are interested in debating between EPIK, the public school system, or Hagwons, I made a video that I'll link above talking about the pros and the cons of each of those. Also, if you guys are interested in the application in the public school system, I will link my playlist above that lists a lot of different content having to do with that system because it's quite different than Hagwon. So go ahead and check that out if it pertains to you and is helpful for you. But today we are going to be talking all about Hagwons. So I was hesitant to make this video because of one big reason. So I want to put that out there as a disclaimer first, and that is I have not had the most positive Hagwon experience. It's definitely not something that I regret doing because it has been a big growth opportunity. I have learned so much, I have evolved so much career-wise. I've really been pushed in ways that have really made me grow. But if I'm honest, I've had a very negative experience, not ideal by any means, but that doesn't take away from actually working at Hagwons. It's always going to be a risk, whether you find a good one or not. And that's why I want to kind of provide this video as information that's still helpful if you guys are looking to work your way into the Hagwon system, and also questions, knowing what I know now, that I think will be essential to ask to employers to help you kind of navigate the murky waters and find a good Hagwon. Once again, that being said, you never know, especially when it comes to management, until you actually get here. But I don't want to X out the whole entire Hagwon system just due to my experience. A lot of people have extremely positive experiences that I know. I also know people who have had extremely negative experiences. It is a risk both ways, but that kind of goes with any job. But as long as you're aware of that, and again, try and navigate the system in a way that you at least make educational guesses and decisions, because you are, after all, moving your whole entire life to another country. I think that's what counts. So today's video is just going to be purely informational, how you can find these opportunities, and then what you can do once you find them. So let's get straight into the video. All right, first up, where do you actually go to find a Hagwon job open up? So there are many different websites that you guys can use. I personally just use Dave's ESL. I will link it down below. This is absolutely not sponsored in any way. I just found it easiest to navigate. I also appreciate that they do have an international tabs board that you can also look at other opportunities if for some reason maybe you're considering China or Indonesia, or even different opportunities like in Spain and in Europe. So I think it's just quite an interesting website to look at. You can kind of explore the world of ESL with it, not just Korea. They also do have a Korea tab, and I'm going to show you guys and actually walk you guys through exactly how you do this. So once you're on this website, you can either go one of two directions. It will either be a direct hire or a recruiter. A recruiter is going to be more than likely who you're going to be in contact with and who's actually posting the job listings, but sometimes it will say direct hire if they're just looking to fill one position. If that is the case, I would make sure that they are accepting E2 visas and not people, I believe it's F something, the type of visa that you're already in the country or a Korean citizen. You want to make sure that the position that you're wanting to fill is going to be a visa that's going to sponsor you to come into the country. If it is a direct hire, then you can simply email them all of the requirements that they're going to list for your application. But more than likely, like I said, you're going to be working through a recruiter. If this is the case, then I think a question pops up a lot. How many recruiters do you work with? To me, I thought, oh, I'll just, click on one, I'll apply through them. But this is a bit more of a tricky system that you can actually apply to multiple recruiters because they're going to be working for different schools. So especially if you are not dead set on one region, then I would be open to applying to different recruiters to see what your real options are. Otherwise, you might be pigeonholed into just one recruitment agency's schools that are hiring right now instead of looking more expansively. Now, do be wary, once you apply to them, then a couple of things will happen. So first up, when you do apply, generally they're going to ask you the basics, such as, do you have a college degree? Usually this is a 4-year college degree. Are you a native English speaker? Do you have a TEFL or TESOL? And what is your experience? They also might tack onto this and ask if you also have a background check, and this could be helpful for them to understand where you're at in the process and how quickly they can look for a job for you. Background checks do take quite a while depending on what country, especially inside of the US, because that is at the federal level and you will need to go through the FBI. It does take a little while to come back, and so they're probably going to want to know where you're at in that process, and they're more than likely wanting you to have already started that. But essentially all of this information is letting them know that you qualify for the E2 visa, and then also what schools are an option for you. Number 3, what happens next? You actually interview with the recruiter, and then from the recruiter, they then will find you an employer, and then you interview with them. So with the recruiter, basically this is just I don't want to say very casual because it probably depends on the recruiter, but more than likely kind of a casual interview, maybe 20 or 30 minutes long, maybe a little bit shorter than that. They're just going to run through, double check all the requirements that I just listed. They might ask you a little bit about your experience, but with this recruiter, you're not necessarily trying to convince them that you're going to be the best teacher. They just want to understand you a bit better so that they can set you up with the right job and also make sure that what is on paper matches with the person. So number 4, from there, you will probably get lots and lots of emails, as I previously mentioned. Recruiters are going to send you any and every school that is interested in you. The more interviews, the better. I know when this first started happening to me, I felt the need to take every school up on the opportunity to interview, or I would be letting my interviewer down, and I don't want you guys to feel that way, especially if you are talking to multiple recruiters. If they send a list of 5 different schools, it's okay to navigate, look through, and say, I'm not interested in any of these, or I am interested in one of these. Can you tell me more information? And then from there, can we set up an interview? But they are willing to set up multiple interviews around the same time. Just know that Hagwon contracts come very quickly once you've had the interview. So if you're going to be setting up multiple interviews, again, make sure it's probably within a couple days of each other, because they might send you a contract within 1 hour to 48 hours after you have your interview, and they're going to expect a response to that around that time frame as well. And you can always push that back a little bit, especially depending on what time of year you are applying and interviewing. But I would recommend putting them all together so you can really evaluate all your opportunities and don't feel pressured to say yes to one that doesn't actually look good. At the end of this video, I'll be talking about a couple of questions that I wish I would have known to ask my employer to help discern if it was a good Hagwon or not for me personally. So definitely stay tuned till the end to check out what those questions are that I also recommend you ask. But moving on from here, in terms of the process, after you apply, after you have your interview, this one's a bit more formal. You're going to dress up nice. And for me, I interviewed at multiple Hagwons. I was very grateful I got the position at each of them. Some of them were a little bit more casual. They honestly didn't ask me too much. I think because I had worked in Korea previously, that was a very big positive for them, and I think that alleviated some concerns there. And so some of them were a little bit more casual. They just told me about the schedule, how their school ran, gave me more information on them to see if that met my needs, whereas other ones asked me very in-depth questions, really wanted to get to know me as a person. So this is really going to depend on your employer, if it's a big Hagwon, if it's a small Hagwon, and you're welcome to ask your recruiter all of these questions beforehand to maybe help you prepare. But that was my experience, and with each of these within 12 hours, honestly within 1 or 2 hours of the interview, they went ahead and sent over a contract. So once you get your contract, I recommend thoroughly looking through this. I saw some wild different contracts that were sent to me, including if you wrote contract, how you would have to pay for recruitment fees, you would have to pay for the apartment until they filled it with someone else. All of these different stipulations that of course you hope you won't break contract, but are kind of unnecessary because other contracts aren't going to say that. So I just highly recommend sifting through, seeing what their requirements are. Some of them might have 2 sick days, some of them might have 0 sick days. So these are things to look through. Your recruiter might actually highlight, mine did, important aspects of the contract, but this is fully on you to look through 100% to make sure that this is what is meeting your needs. months. So at this point in the process, negotiation can start, whether that be salary, which is going to be the most obvious thing. You can go through your recruiter and ask about a certain number. You can get more of a back and forth. Also, when it comes to flight reimbursements, asking when that will occur, you can negotiate that as well. Everything down to just different clauses. Again, sick days, maybe it's vacation days if you have a certain amount of experience. Anything that you are wanting to address, now is the time to address it. Quite a few schools were pretty lenient actually, and if you didn't ask for a little bit more, they wouldn't have given it to you. And then I also found that other schools, they just submitted exactly what they were looking for in their exact budget and all of that. So it really is going to be a back and forth, and you do have to grow a bit comfortable in this process of negotiation. Here I want to pause and say I don't want you to feel pressured by your recruiter to make a certain decision. They might be pretty pushy in this. It's okay. You are the person who is going to be, again, moving your life across the world and making these decisions. So don't let anyone pressure you into anything. I have had several people ask me what recruitment agency I personally use. I'm not going to share that simply because I did have a positive experience with them, but I don't necessarily recommend one recruitment agency over the other. There's honestly so many different ones out there. There are different Reddit threads that also go through which ones are better. I think that because you'll be using potentially so many, I don't have a specific one to recommend to you that I think is so much better than another. So it's at this point that you then have gone through, you've looked at your contract. If you like it, if this is the one for you, you are going to sign it. And from that point forward, your recruiter is going to act as that liaison between the company and you in terms of when your criminal background check needs to come in, when you need to book flights, all of those different things, where your apartment will be. That will be on your recruiter. I actually talked to mine until the day that I landed in Korea. She made sure that I got to my apartment okay, and then we never really spoke again. So that's the way that it personally worked for me. Of course, this can work different at different recruitment agencies, but that is the general outline and gist of how you can find and secure a position at a Hagwon. Here are a couple of questions that I would recommend asking that can help provide clarity of the overall structure and maybe atmosphere of the Hagwon before going. So the first question I would ask is, will you be taking your lunch break with the kids or apart from the kids? I think that this one's really important because if you are expected to take your lunch break with the kids, it's not actually a break. And in the case of my Hagwon, I don't actually have any breaks between classes, not 2 or 3 or 5 minutes in between. It literally goes from 12:30 to 1, 1:30 to 2. It just keeps going on and on. So if you don't actually have a break inside of your schedule, then that's going to be really important for you to know beforehand, because during that time you're going to be putting out small fires in terms of maybe one of your students ended up wetting themselves and you have to help change that, or maybe they're flinging sausages all around the room and you have to go clean that up. There's always going to be something, so if you can't take that time to actually have a break, it's also worth noting that you might not even have that time to truly eat. So that's going to be really important depending on the length of your contract in terms of if you're part-time or full-time. Maybe that will or won't bother you, but it is something worth asking. Number 2 is about contact teaching hours. So a lot of times they will put this inside of your contract. I think it's actually necessary that they do, but I would follow up, make sure, double check with your recruiter that if you're going to be working a 40-45 hour work week, are you going to be having 25 contact teaching hours or 33? This is really important. Contact means that you're actually inside of the classroom. You're not lesson prepping, you're not planning for anything, you're actually inside the classroom teaching. I would also look at what's an appropriate amount, because you will be very exhausted if you're hitting 30 plus contact hours. I'd really consider if that contract is going to be good for you or not. So that's just something I would ask. Number 3 has to do with flight reimbursement. When you will get reimbursed, at the beginning of your contract, after several months into your contract, or at the very end, only if you meet certain stipulations. This is really important to be extremely clear on, because for a lot of people, this is going to be a really hefty plane ticket to shoulder going over. Number 4 is about curriculum. Do they have new or old curriculum? Are you making curriculum? This is going to look drastically different for your job. if they have a set curriculum and they've been using it for several years, chances are it might be hard to adapt, but you can do it well and people are there to assist you in it. If it's new curriculum that they've just gotten, again, chances are a lot of teachers who are experienced and working there right now are still trying to figure out how to make this actually work inside of their Hagwon. I noticed that was the case for mine. They got a new curriculum and things look completely different this year than they did last year. So worth considering. And then the third option there, do they expect you to create a curriculum? If you feel equipped to do this, maybe you have your bachelor's in education, or maybe this is just your calling, you feel really ready to do it, then that's great. I think for a lot of people, you might not feel equipped to come up with a curriculum. That's going to be a lot of extra effort and work as well. So these are things I would consider. Number 4 is, what does management expect from teachers? I think this is a great question to ask in terms of what they're looking for, because one person might answer this and say that they're looking for kind and caring and compassionate teachers, and another Hagwon might say we are looking for efficient ones who are goal-oriented and can get the job done. And that's going to tell you a lot about the atmosphere of that Hagwon. And number 6, how much freedom is there inside of the classroom? And when I say freedom, I mean in addition to the curriculum, can you add certain things like fun videos to show students or fun songs? Are you able to add anything to their curriculum to make it more engaging once you get to know the students? How flexible are they in that? So that's all I have to share. That's not all the best questions. It's not all encompassing, but I hope it does help. And I wish you all the best in your process of looking for a Hagwon. I think there are very good Hagwons out there, as well as Hagwons that are a bit of a struggle. So I hope that this can help guide you in a direction that you are wanting to go. I hope you have the absolute best day of your life. I will see you in the next video. Bye.